good morning. Good morning. I want to welcome you to this historic place on a glorious day. And these will be your last academic exercises as Brown undergraduates. In just a few short minutes, you'll formally be granted your degrees. And when you walk out through the Van Wickle gates, you will do so as alumni of the great Brown University class of 2021. Now, I have to say, presidential commencement addresses, sometimes they're too long, this one won't be, but they often follow a very predictable pattern. So, the president arrives with a carefully prepared speech. Graduates are praised for their accomplishments as students. This segues into a discussion about one or more of the pressing challenges facing society: climate change, racial injustice, and global health. And at the end, the graduating students are encouraged to go out into the world and use their knowledge to tackle these challenges and do good in the world. And then within days or weeks or months, they can't recall anything about the topic of the speech. Still, speeches like this are fine, and I've given that kind of speech myself, but I'm not going to do that today. For one, you don't need me to tell you how much you've learned, and I've rarely met a Brown student who isn't passionate about using their knowledge to make the world a better place. You know these things, and you have everything you need to go out and do that. Second, it feels inappropriate to do the predictable thing in a year that was anything but predictable. This was a year when all of the scripts that we used to guide our lives just flew out the window, disappeared. And the truth is, it's frightening when you don't have a script, when our world shifts unexpectedly and all of the usual patterns and ways of doing things are disrupted, they're upended. And when this happens, it's natural to want to go back to what's familiar and safe. It's normal to yearn for normal. For my part, a normal academic year is entirely predictable. Students arrive over Labor Day weekend. Family weekend and football games are in October. The MLK lecture is in February. Student protests, which I wholeheartedly respect truly, are usually in April. And commencement falls on Memorial Day weekend. And this is the script that usually governs my life. And I expect that before the pandemic, you had a vision of how your senior years would play out. Although each of your visions would have been unique, I bet that most of you expected your senior spring to be your best semester at Brown, a time to wrap up your courses and honors theses, but also a time to have fun, spend time with your best friends, have a blast at campus dance before marching out through the Van Wickle gates. Then the pandemic came, and like I said, the script flew out the window. And over the past 14 months, you've lived with incredible uncertainty, not only about how the pandemic would play out, but also about basic aspects of your daily lives. Where would you be living and when? How you'd be learning? How to ensure the safety of your families? And the people and institutions you usually count on to provide guidance in uncertain times, your families, your university, your political leaders, were just as unsure about what to do next as you may have been. In some cases, leading voices were actively spreading misinformation. And so, without a script, you adapted. You shifted your perspectives. And I have to say, through all this, you have been so extraordinary. I am so impressed about how you navigated the past 14 months. You had to abruptly leave campus last March and shift to remote courses, and you continued to learn. You supported your friends. You followed new public health rules to keep our community and the greater Providence community safe. You advocated for what you needed and what others needed too, and you stood up for equity and justice. You defied the common belief that college students would be super spreaders of the virus. And it's because of your efforts that we're all here today. We couldn't have done it without you, and I want to thank you for that. Without a script to follow, you've been forced to know yourself better and understand your own strengths and your weaknesses and hone your values. And when you've had to make decisions with very little information to go on, instead of asking yourself, what am I expected to do? Because who knows in a pandemic, you've had to ask, what's the right thing for me to do? Now, this is far from the last time that you'll be uncomfortable. You will face uncertainty in the future. Hopefully not pandemic level uncertainty, but uncertainty nonetheless. So sometimes things won't turn out the way you expected, like when the job you thought you'd love, you discover that you hate. Or when the demands of juggling work and family life necessitate that you shift course, like move to a new city or make a career change. You'll make important decisions knowing that in hindsight, they may prove to be great choices or very bad mistakes. The truth is that in the decades ahead, you will continuously write and rewrite the scripts of your own lives. And it's really important to remember that this is yours and yours alone to do. Never let anyone impose a plan on you that's not of your own making. Never let some preconceived notion of what you're expected to do drive your decisions. And I have to say, you have got this. You are so well prepared to write your own scripts in the most glorious ways possible. Through your experience with the open curriculum, which Dean Mendel, now President Williams, mentioned, you've learned how to learn. Knowing how to learn in changing and uncertain circumstances is one of the most valuable things that you will take away from Brown. And through the course of this year, you've further honed the very important qualities of character and compassion that will serve you so well in the future. So as I look out at all of you today, I can say with complete confidence that you are ready to take on the world. And as you remember Brown, as you leave Brown, please remember that we're proud of you, we love you, we wish each and every one of you full lives of meaning and purpose. And now would you like me to read the Latin script that confers your degrees?